All right, I think we are live now. So good morning, Carlos, and good morning, Facebook. How we all doing out there?
Doing good. Hope everybody's doing great.
It's
Beautiful day.
Friday, baby. It's Friday, so you know it's going to be a good day. It's
I
Friday.
know.
It's what it's all about. Follow Up Friday. Hey, we had a really good call last week with Juan. That was a great surprise visit. It was awesome.
It was great. It was good to see him on. Finally got him on. Geez, I think it took a year.
Yeah. It has been about a year. So that was awesome, though. He shared some really good stuff, and I knew he was going to be a great contributor to the program. So I'm glad you were able to proactively work on the schedule. That's good because I know he's a busy guy.
Yeah, that's good.
Cool.
And I'm glad we need to get more people on. So if anybody wants to come on and give some advice on how to follow up, or their systems and process, how to get more business, we'd love to have anybody come on, so that way we can get more opinions out there and more ways and strategies, and we want to make sure we get that.
Absolutely. That I always like the contributors. I mean, we've had some really good guests, and certainly would love to have anybody who's interested in coming on come join us, because it's a lot of fun to hear how other people do it, and have them add to the discussion. So I'm always about that. It's always about follow up, man. And today I wanted us to discuss a little bit about having a follow up schedule. Right. Being intentional, follow-up is intentional. Wouldn't you agree, Carlos? Follow-up is intentional?
Yes. Having that schedule is a major thing. I got to amp up my schedule for March for sure, because I got to get a lot more work in, got a lot more things going on, and I got to get it moved. I got to get it in less time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I can't be working at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. I got to get it in a small packed time. So schedule is important.
Yeah, I think if we're intentional about our schedule and we stick to it, if we put a plan together and stick to it, we can avoid on a regular basis all those late night, late hours, early morning, unnecessary situations too. So I think the intentionality and having a schedule is so important. From my perspective, it's so important. I mean, I shared with you and with everyone, my schedule, that I follow almost to a T. I just don't have I don't think there's an exception, really. I mean, I think if we have a schedule, we should follow it. And following up with people, following up on business and growing our business it's all about intentionality and consistency. We talk about that all the time.
Yes. Being consistent and intentional is important. It's important.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like the idea offered in this article about planning, if you will, putting together a particular plan relative to following up and building a schedule. And so I thought we'd walk through kind of this example. And of course, it's just an example. I mean, you and I have some specific things that we do with ours that don't always follow this, but at least a simple follow-up plan and having some type of a structure gives us some discipline, if you will, you know what I mean? Some discipline. So, like, for example, that what this is positing here is that, this is a 10 touch, 20-day model of following up on leads, right? So, first day, call, email, maybe call again. Obviously we have texting now, so texting should be worked into that first day, right?
It's texting is, obviously was never put in this. It was probably not a thing when this was made up, but
right.
But texting is an important thing. Those phone calls, those phone emblems, you can just text.
Yeah.
Because when you make a phone call and if they didn't answer, or if you left a voicemail, which you should leave a voicemail every single time, just send a text right after.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. And and as we talk about this touch model, this follow-up plan touch model, you're right. I think I'm glad you mentioned that about voicemails, Carlos. I'm glad you mentioned that about voicemails because I think while I'm not the best voicemail person, I always leave voicemails when I call people, right? I may not necessarily love them getting them, but there are still a lot of people that do rely upon voicemail. And whether they're in a meeting, they're busy, away from the phone, whatever the case may be, when they do get around to checking that voicemail, it is imperative, I think, that our voice is the one that they hear, right? If they're out shopping for services. Wouldn't you agree?
Right. Yeah. It's a very, people say, well, voicemail's dying, voicemail's dying. It's not. It is not, folks. I mean, if I can't, I've had so many phone calls this last couple weeks that I can't get every phone call, but if they leave me a voicemail, I'll listen, and especially if it's something I need to do, or if they leave me a voicemail of something that, they're following up with or they're doing, then I can get it done. And when I do return that call, then I know what I'm talking about, or I know what it's about,
Right.
But leaving a voicemail is very important because some voicemails aren't set up. I agree. I mean, if the voicemail is there, you got to leave it. Some people, it says voicemail is not, I think there was somebody I just called yesterday that their voicemail wasn't set up or their voicemail was full, and I love it because there's some people who are like, hey, your voicemail was full. They text message me. I'm like, oh, thanks. So I go in and I delete them, I got to get them cleared out. So, it's an important thing.
Yeah, it is. There are people that still use voicemails. Listen, I got my very first job working for Sprint because the guy left a voicemail. I was trying to go into the military and I had high blood pressure, so they told me I had to come back. I got my blood pressure under control, and so I went to the telephone booth. Most people may or may not know what a telephone booth was. And I called my answer machine and checked my answer machine, and it was a message from Tommy Arnick. And he said, hey, we want you to come in for an interview at Sprint. And so that's how it was, it was through answer machine. So yeah, absolutely. Got to be leaving messages, and you said it, leave messages all the time. I leave them on every time I call. Hey, how you doing? This is Steve. Every time.
Yep. And you don't have to give details about it. You just say, hey, this is so-and-so, this is Carlos. Give me a call. I had a couple quick questions for you, or give me a call. I got some great news for you. Give them a reason to call you. Find out what that great news is, Give them a reason to call you back. If it's a lead, leave an exciting message. Get that mirror in front of you and smile.
That's right. So we got a day one model. You determine, they can determine, the people can determine, how they want to structure their day one model. The idea here is just in principle only to conceptually share some suggestions for having. The most important thing is that we have a follow-up plan. We have a follow-up schedule. And we use that schedule consistently. But whether it's call, text, email, whatever, have something that you're going to do on day one, day two, day three. This example again is just an example showing. Day three is the next attempt or the third attempt, and day four is the next attempt, and so on and so forth. So my model looks a lot different than this. I'm calling, voicemail, emailing, texting on day one. Day two, I'm calling. They don't even have a day two on here. I'm emailing. The other thing, Carlos, tell me how you think about this, because I am a big proponent as well. I also email every contact attempt I email as well.
Email, yeah, it's a great. It's hard to do. I totally get why some people don't do it, but it is hard to do, but you got to do it. You got to email everybody. Yeah. I mean, even if it's, hey, I just called you. I mean, this is what I've been doing lately. It's tough. I know it's hard. I know it's hard to type out every single email. Get some templates, set some templates up in a Word doc that you can copy and paste. Get it to where it's efficient for you to do it every single time. I know it takes time. And there's some times where I'll just call and say, hey, or I just email and say, hey, I just left you a voicemail. I just called you and left you a voicemail. give me a call at your earliest convenience. I'm trying to get a hold of you. I leave emails just like that too. It's just like a regular conversation.
Yeah.
I've been doing that lately, and I send the email out, and the person calls me like instantly. And it's like, I got your email. And it's like people check their emails. And all I did was just say, just give me a call real quick at your earliest convenience. I didn't send in thanks for chatting with me. I didn't send a whole paragraph full of stuff. I just said, hey, give me a call at your earliest convenience. I called you and left you a voicemail.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just got a text message just now that said, hey, sorry, I've been having phone problems. Thanks for emailing me. Just got it right now.
Yeah.
And I've been texting this person for 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
But I decided to leave them an email. I sent him an email yesterday. I sent him an email last night, and they text me today and said, hey, sorry, I've been having phone troubles. I got your email. And I just got it as we were talking here. So
well, it's interesting, Carlos, because I was having problems with my cell phone for probably 2 weeks, and I wasn't getting all the text messages, and the network was messed up, and I was having some significant problems. So it's interesting you said that because, I did emails. I was getting emails, but I wasn't getting all my text messages. And I think it was just the Apple users that were getting through. So for anybody who wasn't an Apple user who tried to text me, I wasn't getting their text messages. But you know what? I was still getting emails, and I certainly could still check a message if they left a voicemail. So that's why it's important, very important to make sure that when we're taking this time and putting the effort into trying to reach out to people and follow up with people, we take the extra second and leave a voicemail, or take the extra second and send an email, or have your CRM set it up, or whatever the case may be, because there are circumstances and situations that might prevent people from getting, the text message, right? Or from taking the call, you know what I mean? But most of the times email is going to get there. Email is going to get there.
So, and I can tell you that's for everybody. That's for leads. That's for people you've met. That's people that you've been in contact with. That's current clients, past clients. I mean, you got to do the same thing over and over, because I can tell you this last couple of weeks, my partner and I, we have met with a client, and it's a big client. And we met with these clients, and we met with them twice, 2 days in a row almost. I think it was 2 days in a row. And then just like what I tell you guys before, just like what I told you before, Stephen, it's like you got to be in front of these people. Well, we saw these people 2 days in a row. It happens to be at a restaurant, and we saw them 2 days in a row, and we talked, and we had a great conversation. But then that same day, we text them and we emailed them, and we tried calling them, all three, that same day, later that day. And they said they wanted information from us. They wanted to do business with us, all this stuff. And we couldn't get a hold of them. So then we got email, text, and phone calls. They didn't answer our phone calls. They didn't answer our text messages. They didn't answer our emails. So we're like, wow, this is kind of weird, because this is a big client. We can't mess around with this.
Right.
And then the next day, nothing. The next day, nothing. Didn't hear anything from these people. And we're trying every single day, because it's one of those things. We got to build up a relationship with these people, and they're big clients.
Right.
And we tried, and there was nothing. So guess what? We went back, and we saw them at their location, and we went back, and then I went back over the weekend, and I saw them again, to be in front of them, to talk to them, to chat with them, to be able to, I'm like, hey, we're calling, we're emailing, and we're getting no response. So, long story short, it's just, we kept trying and kept trying. Well, this person that just texted me just now is that person. It's been a week, and we've been emailing, and we've been calling, and we've gone to their location, we see them face to face, but it's like when we leave that place, we don't get any response.
Right.
So it's like, are we going to get this business or are we not?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it kind of worries us because it's a good potential. It's a big client. It's a potential of a lot of money and a lot of business and a lot of referrals. So it's a big client. And so we finally got a hold of them. And this is one of the owners that just messaged me and says, hey, I've been having troubles with my phone, but I got your email. So you got to stay in front of these people on a continuous 1, 2, 3, 4. In 2 weeks, I probably talked to them. I don't know. I've showed my face probably 5 times,
Mhm.
and I've showed my face 5 times. I've called them and text. 2 people have called and text. So you got to just keep in front of these. You got to keep that schedule and you got to be intentional, but it's with everyone.
Well, you just touched on the fact that this is a follow-up schedule, a follow-up plan. And, for some people, it's not just call, email, text, voicemail. For some people, it is Popeyes stopping in, so I'm glad you brought that up because you're right. This is a sample of something someone does on a 20-day, 10 touch, 20-day model, but there's different variations of touches. And the importance of having a follow-up plan and a schedule to follow up. The reason why that's important is because the data shows us very explicitly the progression of the sale is all about having contacts and multiple contacts. And these contacts will eventually convert to deals. And so you're right, that follow-up schedule, that follow-up plan is all about creating opportunities for these contact situations, right? Because we know that 43% of the salespeople give up after the first contact, 80% have given up by the third. So if you guys would have called, left a message, called, just sent an email, you may not have even reached that person at all, which means you probably would have given up. You would have been in the 80%.
Yep.
That gave up. So you varied your follow-up approach and you said, well, hey, you know what? They're not answering. Let's go there. You know what I mean? I love that. Let's go. Hey, let's pop in.
Yep.
And let's see what's going on. Maybe the telecom system's down. You know what I mean?
Something. We went there to verify that we had the right correct number. I mean, we verified it and we're like, we've called and text and we haven't gotten anything. So it's just, we're trying to schedule appointments for these people and we want to make sure that they're committed to it too, so.
Right. Absolutely. No. So that's a great example, Carlos, of a different variation of follow-up, but the key is to have a follow-up schedule. And it could be, there's some people that in my business, if I want to call on builders, if I want to call on realtors, I could pick a day and that day could be a Popeye day, and I could make, day 4 and day 15 Popeye days, or, every 7 or every 14 days a Popeye day, right? Just a matter of staying in front of them. Yep. And so that can be built into our follow-up schedule and our follow-up plan. And what that does is that gets me closer to those touch points, those contacts that are necessary in order for me to turn that into a conversion, right, into a deal. So so you look at this graph here, the number of attempts, right? You see how it starts at 40% on the first attempt, and it just goes up. These are the number of attempts and the probability of making a contact, right? So 40% chance on 1, probably about 65, 80% chance on 3, 83, 85, probably 90%, right? The chances of making a contact go up the more attempts I make on that person. And that's what you just demonstrated by calling, texting, emailing, dropping in, calling, texting, email, dropping in. You made multiple attempts. And of course, your probability of contact was probably right there as well, right? You made a contact. If nothing else, he responded back to an email because you made multiple contacts and you varied your contact approaches.
Yep.
So good stuff, man. I think it's important. Wanted to just take a few minutes and share this because I think it's very important that, if we want to be successful, we have to have a schedule, a follow-up schedule. We have to be intentional. And this is a really good example of that, right? This is just an example. I'm going to drop the link to this article in the comments, and if anyone wants to go look at this and build their own sample follow-up plan, they can do that. So I'll drop the link to the article in the comments, and people can go and click on that link and see this particular follow-up schedule, and then kind of build their own and vary off of it.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious on what everybody does. I'm kind of curious on what everybody does for their follow-up schedule, because they gotta be intentional, and you gotta be, you gotta have a plan in place to do all this. And I'm curious what everybody's doing, and you got to have it written out. You got to know, either on a schedule, it's either on your Outlook schedule, it's on your calendar, Apple Calendar, wherever, but you got to have a plan and be intentional about the system that you're doing.
Absolutely. And we know that the reason, that having a plan and being intentional, we know what that leads us to. What that leads us to is ultimately getting in contact and converting that prospect from a lead to a sale, right? We know that intentionality, that consistency will give us the contacts we need to when they are ready to go. And that's what this represents. When they're ready to go, if you've made enough contacts and reached out enough and attempted to build a relationship, when they're ready to go, we want to get to the point to where we own mindshare. This says you now own mindshare as the default choice when the prospect is ready. And that doesn't come by being lucky. That doesn't come by being lucky. It comes by what you just said, by having a plan and being intentional.
Yep. Yeah, you got to have that. You got to have that set up, and that follow-up system has got to be there. Especially if you get a new client. You got to stay in front of them. The more clients you get, the more new clients you get, the more new leads you get. The leads that you want to turn into an actual client. I mean, you got to just have that plan in place to be able to execute it and be intentional about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Stay in front of the prospect. Got to stay in front of them. We want to be the mind share choice when the client is ready to buy. And that's what the follow-up does. I think if there's any key secret ingredient to, converting, leads, that's it. It's staying in front of them, being consistent, and doing it so that when they are ready, they don't have I got to call Steve.
Yeah.
It's that guy that keeps leaving me messages. It's that guy that keeps sending me emails. It's that guy that keeps popping up. That's who I'm going to call, because this guy.
Even if it's, you got to have a plan. You got to have it in writing and in a calendar, and you got to make it work for you. So even if you make it automated, or if you're not set up with that and you don't have it automated, then get it in writing or get it on your calendar. That everybody has a calendar on their phone. Everybody has a calendar that they have access to. If you have a Gmail, you got access to a calendar. You can put all that stuff on that calendar to pop up at you and make sure you do it. It's got to be, somebody's got to hold you accountable for what you do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like it, Carlos. I put up there on the screen just now what you always say. If they like you, if they trust you, if they believe in you, they'll do business from you, right?
Yeah, that's right. They like you, trust you, and believe in you. Yeah, they'll do it.
Yep. And that only happens when you have a plan and you're consistent and you stay in front of them. That's the only time that's going to happen. So absolutely love it. Good stuff. Carlos, any last minute thoughts? We're gonna get off here and get the pounding the pavement on Friday. It's a follow-up Friday, and we're gonna let people get out there and get on the pavement. So, any last minute thoughts on the topic?
No, other than just keep plugging away, make everything intentional. This next month, I know I need to like this weekend, I'm going to start working on my schedule a little bit more on my calendar. And I call it my schedule because my schedule tells me to make those phone calls and those emails and those text messages. It tells me to do that. Mm-hmm. So I got to tighten it up a little bit more, do a little bit more to it, because I got to get a lot more done in the time that I have. And it's just, you got to be intentional about it. And I agree. I agree that it's a schedule is important. A plan is important. And if you need help with it, just let us know. We appreciate, I know we appreciate everybody that watches us. And we've, this last week, Stephen, you had a good testimonial from our videos here.
I did. I sure was, as I was experiencing it, I had someone reach out and who had seen us on here and said, hey, listen, I've seen you guys on Facebook. I need some services, need some help. And I don't know how long, but I know it's only because we consistently jump on here, that our videos are getting out there. People see it, they know what we do, and when they need the service, hey, it's just a matter of being consistent, right? So that's why I sent that to you. I was like, wow, this is how they found me,
So how did they reach out to you? Via
Messenger, Facebook
Messenger. See?
Facebook Messenger. And so part of my plan is I go through my emails, I go through my social media messenger, mailboxes, I'll go post some stuff. I'll get on the phone and call. So just part of my daily routine, it was just there. And I was like, oh, boom. I responded. They responded right back, 2 pre-approvals later, it's amazing. Stuff just comes out of nowhere sometimes, but we've been doing this for a little while, right? So we're putting in some fruits and yielding some stuff from those fruits and seeds as well,
So did you you never checked your messages before, did you? You didn't even have instant message. You didn't even have it set up, did you?
I did not.
And now it's like a thing for you. Now it's an everyday, now it's an everyday, hey, I'm gonna check this. I check my, it's just a habit. And people thought at first, my wife always told me, you got too many notifications. No, I got notifications on, and I have them on because it tells me if somebody wants my services or somebody refers me my services. So like if somebody tags me in a post, I get it. It dings at me on my phone saying that somebody tagged me. So that way I can be on top of whoever's referring me,
Well, the one thing I learned from you, Bianca, Taffy, the Remax Beyond team, the one thing I learned is that you guys see these opportunities as lead opportunities, all right? Any interaction, any response, those are leads. And Leon Sarai from Sarai Marketing, would say that as well. And for the longest, he would say that. He's like, hey, any of those notifications or responses to something you put out there, that's a lead. And now our job is to interact, engage, build relationships. We don't know who that person is. We don't know when they might need our services. So we have to think of those as interactions and engagements as potential leads down the line. Maybe it's 2 years from now, So not responding, not engaging is potentially an opportunity lost.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're not, and that's part of the, I'm telling you guys, this little sample in this article that Stephen posted, it's a sample because a phone call, email, there's no text messaging on there. There's no checking your voicemails. There's no checking your instant messages. There's no checking your social media platforms, your messaging on there. I get messages off Instagram now, and it's a big thing. Sometimes it's spam, which is annoying, but I get messages on Instagram now, and it's a big thing. And it's like people think that they use it for play and kids and young kids, just like TikTok. I'm getting messages on TikTok now, and people think that that's for kids. And TikTok is a major thing right now for business. If you're not using it, you need to use it.
I was talking to a realtor. I was talking to a realtor before we got on. That's why I was a little late. And she said, well, I don't really, don't really use Twitter that much, right? For example, Twitter, TikTok, whatever. It doesn't matter. Instagram, you name it. I don't really get a lot of opportunities out of there. And then she said, well, wait a minute. I did meet you on Twitter. And I was like, yeah. And it's now 6 years later. And, and we've had a friendship and a working relationship for 6 years. We met on Twitter. We met on Twitter, interacting on Twitter. Why? Because we were interacting and responding to one another's posts and got to chatting and just built a relationship. But, but it came, and I just told her, I said, listen, you know what? I interact, I post, I respond to posts. And every once in a while, someone will drop me a DM and say, hey, do you do loans in California? Do you do loans in Colorado? Hey, can you do commercial properties? I mean, I'm not out there actively, soliciting business at all. I'm just engaging and responding to the messages. And that's all it takes. It's like, doesn't need to be anything extra than that. And that's what you guys have taught me, right? That's what you guys have taught me.
And you got to treat it, people, like I said, people think it's a toy or it's fun or entertaining. It's not. You got to use it as a tool. You got to use it as a business tool as well, because you can get in front of people. If somebody like her that says, I don't really get anything off social media, so I don't use it, that's because you don't use it. If you're not engaging and you're not using it, you're not going to get anything out of it.
Right.
If you don't email people, if you don't make phone calls, you're not going to get anything out of it.
That's right.
So,
that's
it's the exact same thing. A phone call. If you don't make your phone calls, if you don't make 60 phone calls a day, or, you're not going to get anything out of phone calls.
Right. That's right. I had a lady tell me one time, listen, I don't get anything out of text messaging. I'm like, well, how often do you text? Well, I don't text at all. I'm like, well, then what do you mean? Okay. I'm confused. Wait a minute. You just said you don't get anything out of text messaging. And then I say, well, how much text do you send? He said, well, none. I'm like, well, of course you're not going to get anything out of text messaging.
Right. Yeah. And there's tools like everything that I've done, everything that I do a little bit of, and I'm telling you, I'm not perfect right now, and I could really amp it up to get a ton more business, and I really should. But even a little bit adds up. I mean, you can see from that, us doing these videos once a week. We hop on, like I said last week, we don't do a whole lot to get up to this video.
Right.
We don't do a whole lot during the week to do this. We hop on Fridays and we have fun.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's not like it's time sucker. That's right. It's Follow-Up Friday, babies. I look forward to Fridays now,
Yeah.
But and we don't do a lot to lead up to it. But this thing that we do every week adds up to some business that Stephen gets. Or there's some recognition. Some people that are like, hey, I saw you on Follow-Up Friday. There's some people that ask me, hey, did you do your Follow-Up Friday this week? I'm like, yep, I did. And they ask me every week, did you do your Follow-Up Friday? They might not have watched it, but they asked me if I did it. I'm like, yep, I did.
I didn't tell you earlier this week, or maybe it was the end of last week. It was snowing outside, so it must have been the end of last week. I walked into Panera Bread, and this guy was talking to somebody else, kind of counseling and coaching him on social media stuff, and it blew me away because I walked in. He's like, "Hey, Steve," and I was like, "Hey, how we doing?" And I knew him from our kids play sports and stuff like that. But what I didn't know is that he was watching us. He was watching our presence on social media. So I went to get the coffee and the food, and I was on my way back out. I said, "Hey, good to see you." He's like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "Hey, I want to introduce you to this guy." He goes, "Hey, Steve." I know Steve, of course, because our son's doing stuff, but I also really know him because he's on social media. He's got a presence, and he's consistently on there. And he's, and I was like, "Wow!" I didn't even know he even paid attention to that stuff. It was so funny. It was so funny, but yeah. So you got to be there. You got to be consistent, and we gotta engage with it. And
you're doing a great job at it. And that's the thing. I mean, it's like who would have thought that you, getting on social media and people seeing you now they see you at stores and stuff, and they're like, I see you on social media.
Yeah,
Stephen's going to become this social media expert.
I don't think so. I'm just going to be, consistent and like you said, we get on here, we have fun, we talk about a consistent topic, and it's a fun topic because it's stuff that we can remind ourselves that we got to do if we want to be successful. And so it's fun. It's not work. It's easy, right?
Right. It's not. You got to have fun in life, and business is fun. I know it's a lot of work, but you got to have fun doing it.
Yeah.
So if you make it fun and you do it all the time, it gets better and easier. Just like the phone calls. You make the phone calls fun, you're not going to dread picking up that phone and making those phone calls. You're not going to dread sending those emails. The only thing that I don't like about the emails is my carpal tunnels that are getting involved typing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that. I understand that completely, so good. Well, good stuff, man. Well, listen, appreciate the knowledge and sharing and everything you provide every week. And I know you got a busy day and I got a busy day, and we're going to get to it. Let's hit the pavements, and happy Friday to everyone. Happy weekend. And we got great weather here in Kansas City.
Get enjoying that weather, man. Get out, get going. Tomorrow it's going to be 63 degrees again. It's going to be a beautiful day out. Hustle like it's Monday. I always say Friday. Hey, it's Friday, but you got to hustle like it's Monday. Get out, get some business, introduce yourself, start talking to people. Get out there and get going and enjoy your life.
Friday sets us off and sets the tone for the following week. What we do on Friday will set the tone for the following week. So that's why it's important to allocate some activities. And it doesn't take a lot, an hour maybe, to follow up.
Yeah.
It's going to stimulate next week's activity. So, all right, my man, I appreciate you, Carlos. It's good to hear from you. And I will see you next week, I'm sure.
Hey, let's try to get your social media guy on next week.
Okay. I'll see if we can get Leon on.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Sounds good, man. Appreciate you. All right, guys. Take care. Thanks a bunch.